Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Southeastern 14 preview of the South Carolina Gamecocks heading to the Arkansas Razorbacks in week 2 of SEC and college football action. I am Blaine Gilmer here for Southeastern 14. If you like this preview that we do, you end up watching this video, like this preview, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on notifications, because myself, Chris Lee, and Blake Love will go live each Wednesday night on this channel to break down all the games. We do previews of all the games each week, so I hope you'll tune in to those. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this week 2 preview of South Carolina traveling to Fayetteville, Arkansas to take on the Razorback. This is going to be in DWR, and as of now, as of recording, Arkansas is a 8.5-point favorite over the Gamecocks. According to FanDuel, over-under is set at 52.5. All-time, the series between these two is Arkansas leading 13-10, but South Carolina does have a 3-game win streak, the last victory coming in 2017, 48-22 in Columbia, South Carolina. Both these programs come in 1-0 as South Carolina defeated Georgia State. Arkansas up and down a little bit against a good Cincinnati team. Ended up covering the 6.5-point spread. This one's going to be a 12 o'clock kickoff there in Fayetteville in DWR Razorback Stadium on ESPN. The headlines coming into this one, you have the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Arkansas Razorbacks, both that were very, very much hyped up. Two likable coaches, the media, they kind of became media darlings, both these teams, one in the East, one in the West. And now we get to see whose hype is real. Which one of these teams is going to take the momentum that they got from last year, both overachieved in terms of what people thought going into last season, and now the expectations are raised for both. For Arkansas, there's expectations for them to fully compete out in the West, and over at South Carolina, people are questioning, okay, who's going to be that number 2 team in the East behind Georgia? South Carolina wants to throw their name in the mix. In order to do that, they have to be able to win these type of games. So now we're going to get to see whose hype is for real in this contest. Can South Carolina stop the run? They give up 200 yards rushing to Georgia State. Just can't happen. And also, which Rattler are we going to see? Again, 2 years ago, was viewed by many to be a possible number 1 overall pick, a Heisman Trophy favorite, loses his job, didn't value the football, turned it over a lot, had some different things go on, comes to South Carolina, has brought a lot of energy, leadership by all accounts, things of that nature, but had 2 picks against Georgia State as well. So which Rattler are we going to see? It's not just about the 2 quarterbacks, though, but you do see here on the dudes, you got the key offensive and key defensive players, Spencer Rattler and KJ Jefferson, the 2 quarterbacks of these teams. Spencer Rattler didn't get anything going with his legs, which is something that they probably need him to be able to do a little bit, create a little bit. He's by no means a running quarterback, but he is mobile enough to extend plays, and him being able to pick up some key third downs and things of that nature with his legs will be important to South Carolina having some success, especially on the road in negative 12 yards rushing against Georgia State. No doubt that has to do with some of the sacks that were given up by the offensive line. And, man, speaking of which, we'll skip down to the offensive line for South Carolina. Only 79 yards rushing in that game against Georgia State, and also they gave up multiple sacks on the night as well. So really need to see some improved play from that South Carolina offensive line, be able to get more movement, because they've got a heck of a running back there in Marshawn Lloyd that they need to feed him. He led them in carries over there, but just not a whole lot of production in that run game. They need to see that yards per carry tick up more to the 4.2, 4.3 yards per carry yard marker if they're wanting to have success in this game. And then Josh Vann, only 1 catch on the night, one of your more productive receivers last year. Got to get him more involved. Jaheim Bell, they tried, different ways to get him the football. He's going to have to be big as well. He could be a mismatch on linebackers and safeties. KJ Jefferson did it all. He was productive and efficient in the passing game. Had some explosive plays that he connected on. Found Trey Knox a couple times as kind of a security blanket in that Cincinnati game. Only connected with Jaden Hazelwood 3 times. I think they got to get him the ball a little bit more and earlier and more often. But Rocket Sanders, what else can you say? 20 carries, 117 yards. This young man, and he can carry the load for sure. They'd probably like to get A.J. Green a little bit more involved. They had Rashad Dubinion that also got some carries as well. But Rocket Sanders, he can carry the load for this Arkansas team. Him and KJ Jefferson led the team in rushing on the evening against Cincinnati last week. Arkansas was able to convert 50% of their third downs last week. You'd like to see that number get up a little bit higher with Sam Pittman and expectations and Kendall Briles expectations there. You'd like to see a little bit more consistency in that. They lost the time of possession battle last week, so you want to see different there. But let's talk about the defenses here. The entire defensive line for South Carolina, they got pushed around by Georgia State. That cannot happen. South Carolina is going to go into DWR knowing that Arkansas, with KJ Jefferson, with Rocket Sanders, with all those other running backs they have, and an offensive line that returns 4 out of 5 starters, they're going to want to run the ball down South Carolina's throat. And if they play the same way that they did this past week against Georgia State, that very well could happen. Muhammad Kaba at inside linebacker, Debo Williams. These guys are going to have to be productive and sure tacklers on the second level because the interior defensive line for South Carolina did not do a good job of eating up double teams and keeping people off of them last week. So they're going to have to fight off blocks and make sure that they're able to win one-on-one battles at linebacker and also do some extra special things because, man, they were just getting eat up by that Georgia State offensive line. And Jemias Williams, who used to be a Gamecock running the ball for Georgia State, they were just right down at him, especially early in that game. South Carolina can't afford that to start off with. Nick Emenwari, he could potentially be in there starting for R.J. Roderick. It's not been determined yet whether R.J. is going to be able to play or not. Shane Beamer came out and said in his press conference this week that RJ could play, but that strong safety position, very important, especially when you're bringing an extra hat down in the box to try to stop the run. So we'll see there. And then Jordan Strachan, South Carolina didn't record a sack against Georgia State this past week. They're going to need Jordan Strachan to get after and get some pressure on KJ Jefferson. If you allow KJ Jefferson to have a clean pocket or you rush in undisciplined ways and he's able to escape the pocket, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. You got to really be careful, but they need him to be able to get home and get KJ Jefferson down. As far as Arkansas defensively, Dwight McGlothern had a interception that he ran it back 51 yards before getting tackled there. Drew Sanders bumper pull. They kind of manned things on that linebacker level. Bumper pull was the leading tackler. Drew Sanders had a sack on the day. Jalen Catalon provided great leadership, second leading tackler on the day. With the different combinations that South Carolina has at tight ends, those safeties are going to be important. Jalen Catalon coming back, he's going to need to be able to effectively communicate for Barry Odom's defense back there. And then Landon Jackson, same with Jordan Strachan. Landon Jackson is a guy that Arkansas is going to be dependent on getting to Spencer Rattler and trying to bring him down, get some sacks, get some negative plays on the day. Ultimately, guys, it's going to be a nice SEC matchup here in week 2. You're going to see, like I said, we're going to get to see whose week 1 struggles to a certain extent can be corrected a little bit. I think Arkansas was tested a little bit more against a good Cincinnati team. Like I said, the spread right now is 8.5. And here's our score prediction. I believe that Arkansas is going to be able to cover that 8.5. They're going to win this game, I think, comfortably. I got them winning 34-23. Arkansas, the OL, the experience, the run game overall, how creative Kendall Briles is in it, and the struggles that South Carolina had against Georgia State last week. This wasn't just scheme stuff. They were getting moved by that Georgia State offensive line. I think Arkansas will do the same. Rattler, I think he'll turn the ball over more if he's turning the ball over at home in Columbia. I think that DWR crowd is going to cause some problems, cause some miscommunication for that South Carolina offense. I can see a couple of turnovers coming and lack of explosive plays. South Carolina just wasn't able to really blow the top off of things when they needed to last week. I think Arkansas is going to kind of play in a style where it's more bend but don't break type stuff. and I can see them kind of keeping everything in front of them. So give me Arkansas to win this one in comfortable fashion. Got them winning 34-23. Would love to hear you guys' comments, and make sure you subscribe to Southeastern 14 to get all of our previews, all of our coverage all season long on college football in the SEC. Also, we got basketball coming up, baseball in the spring. It's all here on Southeastern 14. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and we really appreciate you guys. Catch you next time on another preview on Southeastern 14.